Oche wangi kompanyo sho. Okay, let's do the 4 limitless contemplations. And I want you to do them with a lot of feeling today, because they actually represent bodhicitta, which is one of the verses that I really want to discuss today in the lecture. So I want you to look at what you're actually saying when you say the form immeasurables, because actually that's called bodhicitta, which is the awakened mind. And let's look at that today and really say it with feeling. May all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they all be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. May they find that noble happiness which can never be tainted by suffering. May they attain universal impartial compassion, free of worldly bias towards friends and enemies. Semjen damje dewa tang dewa dewe ju tang jen pa ju jig. Dungal tang, dungal chichu tang trawa juchik, dungal mepe dewa tampatang mindrawa juchik, nearing chak tang ni tang trawe tang nung chempo la ne pa juchik. So that prayer actually is everything in bodhicitta, which we'll come to in a few moments' time. Put your cameras on if you can, everybody, so I can see you. So I thought we should just do 2 more sessions on this prayer itself. I think if we do 2 more sessions, and the reason for choosing long sessions on this prayer is because I really think it's a summary of all the Dharma. Even if you aren't going to use the prayer, I think it's a summary of all the Dharma. So one could even take one verse and do it for a full teaching. But we'll do today. Then next week we can have our discussion group, and then we can come back if it works well like that for you. But I thought we should start today by looking at the depth of the reply, Bern, if you've got that, the reply that Guru Rinpoche gives her after he sees her amazing understanding of her aspirations and devotions. He gives her a prayer back. And I think that prayer is the essence of everything that we need in our lives. His reply is a precise, short essence, and it's like a legacy of Dzogchen. So those of you who are very interested in Dzogchen, this reply by Guru Rinpoche after she's given it when he's about to leave, actually, if you just did that for a practice, as he said, that would be more than enough. Okay. It's an equalizing of life and practice, which has to be our aspiration on this journey. So when they say equalizing life and practice, it's like devotion is your going upwards, compassion is your going downwards to everyone, and diligence constantly is what we all have to do. We have to have that diligence. And most of us probably don't follow equalizing life and practice, but mainly it means applying poignant non-distraction in our daily life. Now, I can tell you something that I do a lot of practice, but honestly, my mind is so distracted. And Blakey, you'll enjoy this as well. When your mind is distracted, it means when you're listening to something, your mind is somewhere else, which is really an important thing, that your mind is never distracted. And sometimes when I'm doing prayers, like in the bathroom and that, the prayers go on, even though my mind is somewhere else thinking about something else. It's like the worst part of equalizing life and practice. You've got to be aware of everything. Sometimes I'm doing the prayer and I realize I didn't do the whole beginning part. I did it, but I wasn't present when I did it. And that's called distraction. And distraction's like the worst thing, even when you're doing your schoolwork. If your mind is somewhere else and the teacher's talking, it's really, that's what we've got to learn. And means awareness of every thought, word, and deed until our hearts are bursting with compassion. I've been counseling a person who regards himself as a very, very, very highly spiritual person. And it's quite interesting because I've always thought of him, oh, well, he's the spiritual one in the family and everything. But I really, really often don't have the feeling that when I'm speaking to him, he's really quite there. Because something he always tells me is, I always tell the truth about everything. And I'm going, that's quite a good idea to tell the truth about everything. But what happens if the person there can't really take that truth? Okay, then you have to find something a little more diluted so that the other person can get it. To be absolutely truthful and honest when it might hurt somebody or be something they can't take is not a great idea. And that's what I understand. And then he told me the other day that he doesn't do daily practice. And then I thought, aha, now I know, because if you don't do daily practice, I don't care if it's 20 minutes that you do when you get up, and better when you do it when you get up, because that's when the energy is rising. But if you don't do daily practice, okay, you in our kinds of lives, you have to. Why? Because for so many lives, we've chosen the delusional path over awareness, and we need to break that habitual pattern of distraction. We have to keep reinforcing our new pattern of awareness that we need for daily practice. And the emphasis on practicing. Once we awaken, we don't need the practice anymore. But it's really important when you think about it, because if we do no practice every day, we will never be able to maintain it in samsara. Even, when my husband is critical of me, I don't let him know so that he can go on being critical of me, but I always think about what he's saying to me afterwards with awareness. And I say, how did he get to see that? What was I doing that I could have done better? And I really understand many, many things from that about my spiritual thing. But if I didn't do my daily practice, I don't mind if you do a half an hour, but at least do a half an hour every day. Now let's look at, Bern, if you've got it, Guru Rinpoche's reply to Yeshe Tsogyal before we go on with the prayer.
Mel, I've been looking for it and I cannot find it at the moment. I'll carry on looking if you want to just start without me. Sorry.
Okay. I'm going to then read it to you, and then we can read it I'll read it very slowly. He says, Kiema, that Kiema in Tibetan is like an expression of oh, wow, that kind of Kiema. He says, Kiema Yeshe Tsogyal, please listen. Now he's giving her the answer after she's given this devoted prayer. Padmasambhava goes to the land of great bliss. In other words, he's not talking about traveling to a land of great bliss. His mind is always in bliss. No matter what he's doing, he's in bliss, which is the most wonderful way to be. He says, I remain in the Dharmakaya, the deathless divinity. So no matter what he comes into, no matter where he emanates, he remains in the Dharmakaya, the essence, which is the deathless divinity, never goes out of that, okay? It has nothing in common with the separation of body and mind at death of ordinary people. So in other words, he's saying, I don't go through death like all of you, where your mind separates from your body and then your body's got to disintegrate and everything. I remain in that state. Now, he's not saying it so that we're looking at him saying, you're wonderful. He's saying it because he's saying, that's what you're training for, to always remain in the Dharmakaya. Bern, it doesn't matter, darling. Rather listen. It really doesn't matter. Rather listen, because it's very easy. It's very simple. So it doesn't matter. And then what you can do is I'll send it to you again. And then next week you can send it to everyone who wants it, okay, to say it. Because I say it every other day. It has nothing in the common with the separation of body and mind at death of ordinary people. In other words, He has no separation. So he can go on and on and on and on, and he has no separation of body and mind. He's always in that mind, okay, completely and totally. And he says, meditate, he tells her, meditate on the Guru Yoga, which is the quintessence of the trainings. Now, what I'm saying to all of you, I am very happy to even give you a 3-minute practice of Guru Yoga or a 2-minute practice. Okay, I've got a beautiful one in that Tsogyal's deity practice, if you are not prepared to do a more detailed one. If you want a more detailed one, you can go onto my lectures and you'll find it there. But he says, meditate on Guru Yoga, which is the quintessence of the training. So out of everything, that's the quintessence, because remember, you're asking for the body, speech, and mind, and all round for your body. You're changing your 3 ordinary bodies, body, speech, and mind, into Vajra, body, speech, and mind. And he says, 2 feet above the crown of your head, on a lotus and moon in the midst of lights, visualize Padmasambhava, the Lama of the being. So when you're sitting, you can do this so short. Visualize Padmasambhava 2 feet above you. And if you've got a lovely picture on your shrine, that's very good. When the visualization becomes clear, so you try and visualize before you start, receive the empowerment and contemplate on it. So all you're doing, I'll show you a very easy way, is body into your head, white, the vase empowerment, speech into your throat, red, for your speech and your energy, wisdom of your mind and the bindus into your heart, and then finally your whole alaya consciousness gets cleared with all its imprints when you go the second one, the word empowerment or the absolute nature empowerment, which incorporates all 3. I could do that really in 3 minutes. But he says, when the visualization becomes clear, receive the empowerment and contemplate on it. Okay, very important. So know what you're doing. So when I'm doing, for instance, the speech empowerment, which is really important in my life, because if I had that speech empowerment, then I could teach properly, which is what I'm doing a large part of my life. So when you go, you're thinking not only of the physical speech, but the energy that comes into you when you speak like that, okay? So you actually just have to visualize that in a most amazing way, okay? Recite the Guru Siddhi mantra, the heart quiescence of the prayer. So that is Om Ahung Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Hung. That's all you have to recite. That mantra is so powerful that I told you that Yeshe Rinpoche told me when I was packing up my shrine. Just say the mantra and it'll all be taken out and put wherever it needs to be without any more discussion. So once you've got the 3 empowerments, you recite Om Ahung Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om. Now let's hear what he says about it. Very short. Finally, unify your 3 doors with mine inseparably. So when you finally dissolving yourself and going to unite with him, you actually unify your 3 doors with his 3 doors, so yours are awakened. And he says, dedicate and make aspiration for the realization of the mind of the Guru. So at the end, you don't have to do long aspiration. You just say, may my mind become like the Guru. You can add in so that I can help people, so that I can do what I want with my life. Now he says this, which is so important. Contemplate in the essence of Dzogchen effortlessly. No problem, effortlessly. He says there are no teachings superior to this. He tells her, these are the most superior teachings you can get in the universe. And he says, contemplate on it effortlessly. There's no teaching superior. He says, the love of Padmasambhava has no rising or setting, but will always be there. The link of lights of my compassion for Tibet will never be severed even after I've departed. For my children who pray to me, I am always in front of them. For people who have faith, there is no separation from me. And that's his prayer. Now, I say that every second day, and then, sorry, okay. Oh, you just emailed the prayer to, perfect. Because it's really important, this prayer, because when you see that this is the essence of everything, if you look at the Nondra, goes through everything, all these beginnings to changing the mind, going through the refuge and bodhicitta, going through the Vajrasattva clearing, going through the mandala offering, which I'm going to teach tomorrow night, and you can all listen to it. And then going to the Guru Yoga. The Guru Yoga is everything. With that Guru Yoga, and next week, if you want me to do that short thing, when we do the questions, I will definitely do that with you with pleasure. I'll send it to Bern, and then we can do the very short one. But what is he saying here? Maybe you want to ask something. What is he saying? He's saying, I am in front of you. My purpose is to be there for you. All you have to do is make that connection to me. And when you make that connection, trust me when I say, when you make that connection, everything comes open in your life that you need. It's such an amazing thing. Even the most mundane things, you know, when you're going, why isn't this working? I can't understand it. What's this all about? And really, actually, everything will be, once you make that connection, it's really, really important. Now, when you look at the connection and you bring it back to the prayer is the Maha Guru. May I never be separated from the Maha Guru. That's not a physical being called Guru Rinpoche. It's the Maha Guru inside you that she starts off with. May I never be separate from that. May I always be in touch with it. And when you're in trouble, you just stop and you hesitate and you get in touch with the Maha Guru, and then you know what to do. Any questions, any comments? Because I think that reply was so wonderful when I read it that I copied it, put it into my prayer book, and say it every second day. Because I think it's so important. Really, I do. Anyone want to comment on it or say anything about it? Are you all okay about it? It's really just very, very, very clear that what you are doing is you've got the three kayas in you. The Dharmakaya, when he says, I am inseparable from the Dharmakaya, we are inseparable from the Dharmakaya, but we don't know it. You just have to wake up to it. And once you are inseparable from the essence, which is the mind, which is the Dharmakaya, then everything starts operating. Then you start operating on that beautiful rainbow light level of the Sambhogakaya. We'll talk about that in the prayer. And then the manifest body, the Nirmanakaya, which can become all things for all people, whatever it needs to do. There's no, doesn't even have to be a human. It can be a bridge. It can be medicine. It can be everything. And that's what we're trying to do. We really want to be of benefit and service to all kinds of beings. And that's very important. And your granny can teach you all of this, Blakey. And I promise you, you'll be soaring above everybody at school. Anyone want to comment before we go on with the prayer?
Mel.
Yes, please.
No, I lost here if you already mentioned it. When it says, when the visualization becomes clear, received empowerments and contemplate on it, what does that actually mean?
When the visualization becomes clear, in other words, the visualization is that there is the Maha Guru, who is Guru Rinpoche. Guru Rinpoche represents in this day and age the second Buddha who is here for this particular age. How Buddha Shakyamuni, so Buddha Shakyamuni said, I am sending an emanation in the 8th century. Why? Because when Buddha Shakyamuni was on the earth plane, it was a different world, you know, to the world that Guru Rinpoche has predicted. I mean, now the world is full of technology and full of AI, you know, like we're so insecure about things. You know, I get things sent to me and then I wonder if it's fake. I mean, I never had that before, to wonder if it was fake or not. You know, if this true, is it fake? What is this AI doing? You know, puts in some of the work of AI is quite good, I would say, but I hate the fact that it's fake, that you don't know what's true and what isn't true. They can just make up anything about anyone. So scary in many, many ways. Okay, so we're living in an age where we need power. We need that absolute Buddha nature to function. So Shakyamuni, Buddha Shakyamuni could see this. So he sent Guru Rinpoche an emanation to come to the world. Guru Rinpoche could actually deal with all the darkness. And that is why he did the teaching like this and asked it to be hidden in mountains and people's minds and rivers and oceans, where it would be found at the exact moment that people would need it. And it was so powerful. So what he's saying is, here I am, and all you have to do is actually link with me, make that connection with me, say the mantra, visualize me, and let me give you all those beautiful empowerments. And then you are ready for this world. You really are ready for this world. And I'm always there and recite the mantra, Om Mahum Benza Guru Pema Siddhum. Even if you go one round the thing, that's fine. But what he's saying is, here I am, get the visualization, let it become clear, receive the empowerments, united, and we are together. So it's very, very, very beautiful, this reply. And I'd like you all to have it. So perhaps you could just put it there. You've put it there, Tati, the email with it. And people can take it off and get it for themselves. Because I think to read it for yourselves in your own leisure is really, really, really very, very useful and very, very helpful. Because you make that connection with the Guru Yoga. It's vital, absolutely vital. Now, when I'm a bit late, I'm still doing my Guru Yoga, you know, so, and I can't finish because only when I've made that connection, then am I in a good fit state to come and give you some teaching, because I know then it comes from the Maha Guru within me. Okay, so it's really important, all of this. It really, really is, because that's what she's saying. And if you look at this prayer, the prayer is the journey to freedom, where everything can actually go just as it needs to go. If you look at it, it's absolutely amazing. So let's go to the next verse if nobody wants to say anything. I don't know if you remember. Please forward the prayer. Okay. If you can, Tati, just put it on there. Then they can all take it.
I sent it to Bern. I'm having trouble with my internet, so I'm on my phone. So
Okay.
I can't send it from my computer.
If you can't, then we'll do it for you by next week, okay? Okay, let's not waste time with it. We'll get it to you. Don't worry about it. But it's really, really nice. Okay, so last time when we had the discussion, we were saying, as a result of my practice, she said, just go up a little bit more. As a result of my practice, may I accomplish the 4 activities. Yeah, there, that one at the bottom there. May I accomplish the 4 activities. May I turn even gods and rakshasas into my servants, and so be able to protect the teachings of the Buddha. We did that last time with gods and rakshasas being equalized. So the Rakshasas are really the ones who, so to speak, do the bad things, and the gods are the ones who are pretty good compared to human beings, but then they have to still come down and be human. So we talked about those 4 activities. If you remember, we talked about them: pacifying, increasing, magnetizing, and subjugating, and then the action accomplishment. So we're not going to do that. We're going to go to the next one, which is, may all the sublime teachings taught by the Buddha appear with no effort within my mind. And through mastering supreme knowledge such as this, may I attain supreme realization. Don't take that off. I'm just going to talk about that very, very quickly. That one is, I think, one of the vital words in this verse, in my verse, it's effortlessly, but with no effort is the same. Relative life and defending our egos and using Sem, the intellect, using Sem, the intellect, to understand the Buddha Dharma requires great effort. To understand, you've got to read, you've got to study, you've got to contemplate, you've got to do that. It requires great effort. And whenever I feel fatigue and think there's so much to do, and I can't come to the end of it, whenever I can't come to it, I know I'm operating as a limited human sentient being and controlling everything. It's so important, this, because when you understand this, that connection is what makes it effortlessness. There's nothing to think about. It just happens spontaneously through you. It's spontaneous activity. And when great beings like Yeshe Tsogyal tell us they've been working for over 200 years in a lifetime, they've been in one life for 200 years, we know how we've limited ourselves, and we need to pass into that ultimate realization. Once Yeshe Tsogyal was dealing with one of the beings visiting her in the copper-colored mountain in a dream. And she said, other than these few steps to bid you farewell, I don't go anywhere. I just emanate from where I am. Now imagine that. At the moment, I just could not even vaguely imagine staying for 100 years, never mind 200 years. I can't even vaguely think that I could go on until 100, never mind 200 years. But this is what you've got to understand. The effortlessness of that Maha Guru, that's why it's worth doing it. And that's why when you have that connection, things just happen for you. You don't have to think about them. You don't have to plot them. You don't have to plan them. They just come through you like that in a most amazing way. Now, the next verse is the one that I really, really want to teach today. So the next verse, I'll do it on your thing. Through bodhicitta's causes and conditions, may I reach and magnetize every single living being. And through the power of my actions, unbounded like a wish-granting gem, may any connection we have be of the deepest benefit and meaning. That's beautifully put, even better than the one that we had. So read that again for yourself, and then we're going to discuss it. Through bodhicitta's causes and conditions, may I reach and magnetize every single living being. Through the power of my actions, unbounded like a wish-granting gem, may any connection we have be of the deepest benefit and meaning. Okay, thanks, Bern. You can turn that off. Now, what's really, really important in this is that you are using bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, apart from your guru yoga, bodhicitta is probably the most important word in the whole of Buddhism, because if you really begin to understand bodhicitta, it's absolutely amazing. It's the wish for all sentient beings. And I want to talk quite a lot about bodhicitta. And you can butt in wherever you want to, because I think it's really, really, really important. There are mantras on bodhicitta. There are all kinds of things depending on whether you are using relative bodhicitta or ultimate bodhicitta. It's very important. So what I want to teach a little bit from is, this was a booklet that Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, not Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, sorry, that Ringu Tulku wrote. I don't know if any of you have seen his Lazy Lama series. They're very cute little booklets. He's got a Lazy Lama series. They're simple and easy to understand, okay? And this one, he wrote many, many years ago, called Bodhicitta, Awakening Compassion and Wisdom. It's a lovely little booklet. It really gives you a real good idea. And I want to teach you some things from it, as well as doing mantras and everything. So let's go into his book. And he says, in Buddhist terms, each of us has the potential to become a Buddha or an enlightened being by fully developing or fully awakening the natural qualities and abilities that we have inside us, which I've said 100 times to you. If we could see that the major part of the difficulties and suffering that we experience is due to the way we look at and react to things and events, we can also see that if we could somehow transform or shift our habitual way of perceiving and relating to them, then our actual experience of them could change. Now, that's such an important part. It really, really is such an important part, because all we're doing is changing our perception of the way we see things. Once you see things from a different viewpoint, it's absolutely amazing, okay? Bodhicitta is a Sanskrit word that literally means mind of awakening. We can think of bodhicitta as a natural extension of refuge. Taking refuge means deciding to work towards filling our own potential and transform our own experience and become free from fear and suffering, while developing bodhicitta expands our aim and practice to include all beings. So when people do an individual path, they don't include all beings. So they might take refuge, but they don't go to bodhicitta, which includes all beings. It's basically a kind of compassion, great compassion, which is combined with understanding or wisdom. Compassion generally means wishing that a being or beings may be free from suffering. Now, ask yourself that question. How much do you really care if other beings are suffering, if your life's going okay? You know, many times you look on the television, you see this terrible story, you watch it, you might even have a few tears in your eyes, and then you switch it off and then you forget all about it because it's got nothing to do with your life. That's not bodhicitta. Actually, everything's got to do with our own lives. And that's what bodhicitta is. If you are looking at everybody, okay, while compassion generally means that a being or beings may be free of suffering, bodhicitta is that same wish combined with an understanding of the possibility of it actually being fulfilled. The compassion and wisdom of bodhicitta, termed relative and ultimate, need to be developed more or less at the same time, because they're both very important. So there's relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. Okay, relative is of the great compassion, which is limitless in 4 ways called the 4 immeasurables. Now, what we said, coming to you now, let me just finish this. What we said in the 4 immeasurables, which we said in the beginning, was the first is the wish that all sufferings without exception may be utterly extinguished. May all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. We're not talking about the suffering of one person or a few people, but all the suffering of sentient beings, not just human beings, but every single sentient being of whatever kind throughout existence. That's what we're talking about, but we don't think about it. We usually just think about human beings. We don't think about the insects. And, you know, if you watch them, if you see those poor ants, I just watch them, they're always running away. And yet they're so in tune when you see a row of ants and they all greet each other as they go along, you think they must have so much more than us. You know, we asking for them, but they're always running. If you try and touch them, they're running and they're fleeing all of their suffering, okay? And we asking for it all the time. And then we want to develop a strong sense of purpose or intention, which includes a feeling of personal responsibility. I will work towards this aim. Later, you're going, this aim will be worked through me. But in relative bodhicitta, you're saying, I will work with this aim. But when you get to ultimately bodhicitta, you're just asking for that aim to be worked through you. Okay, in the Buddhist tradition, a person who's developed such a sense of purpose is called a bodhisattva. Bodhi means knowledge, wisdom, awakening, or enlightenment, while sattva means one who has courage, has heart, has aspiration. A bodhisattva is someone who has the heart to work towards enlightenment, the ultimate freedom for the sake of all beings. Okay, it's a great aspiration, which includes tremendous courage and determination. So the first step is to have the aspiration. Now, a lot of us have the aspiration, but we have the aspiration. We don't have it. You know, I can't explain it to you. All I can say is when that aspiration starts becoming really true, it's like a burning in your heart. And it suddenly doesn't matter about you. It matters about everybody. Yes. It's a burning in your heart. It's not just, I want to work towards. It's good to have that aspiration in the beginning. But it's like, I'm going to do this come hell or high water. That is what I want to have, that aspiration. But that aspiration can be a verbal aspiration, or it can be a great desire. You know, when I read stories of people who through their hardships really help other people, I get such a kick out of it, you know, when people really, really learn out of their hardships to really start these organizations where people can be helped and things like that. It's amazing. So you have to have that aspiration. And maybe, Tatiana, you can bring you went to a course on aspiration and bring your aspiration next week, okay? Because I'd like you to read it to everybody. I really would, because I thought it was very beautiful. She sent it to me. Okay, but we allow our attitude towards ourselves and others to become a little softer, more open, and that's to yourself as well. Because a lot of you, a lot of us are really hard on ourselves. And I think when we're going through a hard time, we're irritated with ourselves a lot of the time. Why can't I just get there? It really means looking at yourself and having compassion when you've got a hard time. I'm just seeing so many people who've got such a million problems at the same time that my heart is broken because I don't know what to do with them. I don't know how to. The only thing I can do is say, I'm here, and in any way that I can help you, I'll be so happy to help you. But basically, when someone's going through mega, mega, mega suffering, you can just have that motivation. And when you're really present, boy, what happened there? When you really spotlighted the video, why is that? I don't want to watch myself.
Mel, are you still the only one on the screen? You keep changing on my computer. I don't know why.
Well, I haven't got that audio on, so it shouldn't be. But now I'm the only one on the screen, and I don't like that. I like to see your faces. So can we change it again? I don't know. Let's try view.
Press gallery, Mim. It shows you gallery, and then you'll come up.
Perfect now. Okay, so it's really important, and we have that clear intention to help all being. Okay, it doesn't only mean pleasing people. Okay, it's not about pleasing people, because sometimes You have to take somebody by their shoulders and shake them and say to them, you know what you're doing? I can see into the future and you've got to stop doing this. Now, that's also very important bodhicitta. It's not just doing what people want you to do. It's stopping people from creating terrible, terrible karma, okay? And wanting them to wish to stop harming themselves, okay? So he says here, we could say that kindness to others is based on our kindness towards ourselves. So if we're kind towards ourselves, then we can benefit others. And he says, if I see it may be good for others, but it would be very harmful to me, then also we often try and avoid that. And does that matter? Does it matter if it's harmful to you and beneficial to other people? It's something you've got to, if I can make that sacrifice without too much regret, then all right, I can do it. But if I would regret it too much, if you see people jumping in front of a bus when a bus is coming to knock someone over, okay? I don't think you've got very much time to think about it. But if it's a natural response, you stand in front of them and it's really a very great bodhicitta to save somebody, even if you get killed in the end. But are we ready for this? This is something you've really got to, you've got to cultivate the habit of bodhicitta. That's what he says. We have conditioning, and the conditioning that our parents tell us all the time is it's about us. It's about us saving ourselves. It's about us protecting ourselves. We've got that kind of conditioning. And he says we've got to really decondition all of that, okay? And we can't be resentful and angry working for the enemy, because then that's not bodhicitta. So another line of reasoning might be to understand how the person who's behaving destructively is influenced by circumstances. Or sometimes you see somebody who's really behaving in a terrible way, but they really can't help themselves because they're drowning in their circumstances. What I try and do in that instance is, I just always try and tell them, if you're walking through a forest and you can't find your way out, and it's really, you're absolutely lost, and then you take a helicopter up, then you see the forest is one square, that's helpful. Now say to them, why don't you look at what you're going through as one square in the total panorama of all your lifetimes? You try and get them to see a perspective to their suffering, because sometimes I've got to tell you honestly, between you and me, I can't fathom what is happening to some people who are going through such horrific circumstances. I was listening to that guy, that hostage who came out about 2 weeks ago. He was having an interview on television, and I just caught it as I came down. I caught that interview. And, the person was asking him, how are you going to deal with this? Now he's got a 2-year-old little boy who's asking, he and his wife were at that concert when Hamas came and took them, and his wife was killed instantly. He didn't know. So the first thing he did when he came out as a hostage, he asked the woman who was negotiating, did she make it, my wife? And I mean, he had to tell her, no, she was killed in the early part of it. Okay, so he had to go through that when he came out. He was emaciated. And he said, how could you survive on one pitta a day, one little bread a day for a year or something, just one pitta a day? Will you think about this? And now he's got this little boy saying, where is my mother? Where is my mother? And how do you deal with something like that? For me, if I were dealing with a person who'd been through that kind of thing, I would just be with them. I probably wouldn't say very much at all. And then I might say, after being with them for a long time, let's go into the helicopter. Let's see what the possibility could be as to why you went through this terrible experience and your whole family was destroyed, seemingly for nothing. But as you know, nothing is for nothing. There has to be a reason somewhere. And sometimes when you see some of the brutality on this earth plane, I mean, how would we know some of these leaders who kill and maim and destroy? I mean, they would come back into the most terrible incarnations, and you'd meet them and you'd think, how can a person go through this? How do we know? I mean, everything is just in its right place for that person. The only thing we can do with bodhicitta is to try to help people to accept what they cannot change and to see it from a different viewpoint. What else can you do? Even all the years of dealing with bereaved parents that had lost children. I mean, I think that is the most horrendous thing. And I had a group in which 3 parents had lost their only 2 children. And I mean, what can you say to those people? So many, many times in those days, and I had definitely not developed bodhicitta, I just used to put my arms around them and cry with them. What else could I do? And then as the time went by, then I could tell them some of the things that they needed to learn. What can you tell a person they need to learn? So bodhicitta is really finding a way to be with people, to share their pain, to understand them. It doesn't mean you have to be any brilliant philosopher that can give them stuff. That's not the issue. The issue is that you want to try and just be there completely, that there's no space between you and them, that they feel that you are in it. And then eventually they can, you know, we can't have high expectations, but eventually they can learn to understand something from you. But this bodhicitta, it is really, it's also rejoicing in the good of other people. Now, we don't rejoice all that much because we've got a lot of jealousy. We feel really jealous about people, okay? So I think that this is the relative bodhicitta. You might want to say something or ask something. It's really important. Sorry, Tati, you wanted to ask something. Please do.
No, it's not really a question. It's just something I realized regarding prayers when we make. At least I have a Christian Catholic background, and I was taught to pray at early age and had influences. I studied in a Catholic school, and basically, from what I remember, I was never really taught to include other people in the prayers. And by discussing that with my dad and my sister, I tried to explain it to them. What about who do you pray for? And it was quite small. And I said, what about, to my pets, what about all the other dogs? What about all your friends? But what about other people? And trying for them to include others and see what happens. But they wouldn't really include anyone they think is not worthy. And that's the difference with the bodhicitta. We include everyone, worthy or not worthy, within our point of view.
More than not worthy, even more than not worthy. Because
Exactly. It's hard.
when he was giving prayers for Mao Zedong, it destroyed everything in Tibet and destroyed their monasteries and destroyed their people. And then he stood up and he said, we really need to pray for this guy who committed the most terrible atrocities and everything. He needed the prayer. And that's when it comes to big things, not small things. Okay?
Yeah, not like a wish list. We tend to be like a prayer, like a wish list.
Good. But the thing is, it's just really starting to have your own motivation and to be very, very caring of your own self. It starts with not caring, but compassionate to your own self and the things you have to go through. It starts there. And then it starts going, you find a clear and constructive direction to find your own inner peace and loving kindness, and then the transformation of other people, the people you know and the people you don't know. And that's very important, but it's got to start with you. But what is ultimate bodhicitta? And he gives beautiful teachings on the ultimate bodhicitta is when you have the wisdom. Okay, that's when you have real wisdom, is not knowledge, it's real wisdom and understanding. You can see the way things are, the way you are, the way everything is. It means realizing or awakening to your true nature and experiencing this completely. So difficult for all of us, okay? Wisdom and compassion are closely linked. And as long as we are lacking wisdom, our compassion will be incomplete. He says, sometimes our wish to help is not really motivated by compassion, but by our own need to feel good or feel important. Think about that. You know, we're all selfish, he says, but if you haven't got the wisdom, you may be, you know, you won't be shocked when we understand that you often do things for you. But what we're doing and what we're doing in the Guru Yoga is we're overcoming the self-centeredness. We're overcoming that to include everybody. And then you understand what this is. Now, it's not easy when you have ultimate bodhicitta, because most people around you do not see it like that. So it's really, really difficult. As long as we're confused about who or what we are, the nature of our existence or the nature of reality, we will continue to have problems and suffering. And he says it's really, really important. So if you can understand the nature of reality, we will realize there's no need of fear, because we'll find nothing in us that can be destroyed. Now listen carefully to what he says. He says, it's a little like realizing that there's no need to feel insecure, because there's no such a thing as insecurity, and no such a thing as security. If you understand there can be no security because there's nothing to be secured, then you can no longer feel insecure. Now, how do you do that? Because we're all insecure. But if you knew that this being was just temporary, transient, going through things, and it didn't really matter in the end if you lost your life, if you had your life, if you had a lot of money, if you had wonderful relationships, if you didn't, it's really quite irrelevant, then you wouldn't be insecure, because where you were would be absolutely fine. It's such an interesting thing, this ultimate bodhicitta, really. And he says, since wisdom is the experience of knowing yourself and discovering your true nature, you have to have introspection to get it and to really be wise. Now, it's so interesting. And I've combined that with this little booklet of Tenzin Palmer. Okay, I don't know if you'll be able to get this, but I got it long ago. It was a talk given in Tasmania, Australia, in 2000, and it says, Bodhicitta, the great wish for all beings. I've got all these things all over my bookshelves, you know, and half of them aren't here. They're all in storage and everything, but soon I'll have them all back. But she wrote Bodhicitta, the great wish of all beings, and she says the same thing. But what I found very interesting in her little booklet is, she says she had a dream. And this dream was very, very, very interesting, because she said to the audience, I had one of those vivid dreams which you remember when you wake up. I dreamt that I was in this huge prison. It was enormous. And at the top were all sorts of luxurious penthouse suites where people were going to cocktail parties, lounging around and having a nice time. Now think about her dream. Then there were intermediary stories in which some people were laughing and joking, while others were weeping and moaning. And there were also all the other shades in between, down to the dungeons below, in which people were suffering deeply and being tortured. But the fact was that whether they were in the penthouse or whether they were in the dungeons, they were all in prison. And she says, and they had no control. They didn't know whether they'd be in the penthouse or the dungeon tomorrow. They didn't know where they were going to be. And that however it might appear to them, they were all enslaved. So in her dream, she went around to many people saying, listen, we've got to escape from this. I know her dream because I've had it a lot of times in the hell realms, those kind of things where I go to people, can't you see the truth? And what they do is they throw rotten tomatoes at you. You know, they're not remotely interested in what you're saying, okay? She says, we've got to escape from this. We've got to get out. But people said, I don't know. It's really okay in here. It's actually quite nice, actually. So I said, but you don't understand. Some of these places are nice right now, but you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We have to leave this place. This is a prison. And she says, she says, but then other people would say, well, I'd really like to leave, but nobody ever gets out and would take quite a lot of trouble and be difficult. So maybe I'll just stay here and keep quiet and it'll be okay. And I asked many people, and everybody I knew had excuses. Somehow they would all like to go, but not just now, maybe next year. But eventually I found 2 people who said, yes, we will go if you go. So I said, okay, let's go. Now, it's a very interesting dream because it goes on and on. And in it, she's showing you the 6 realms of samsara, from those really hell realms to the hungry ghost where people can never get enough, to the human realms where people are suffering and they've got illness and all of that and old age, to the human realm, to the jealous gods who are always fighting with everyone because their whole life is about jealousy, to the God realm, which is absolutely exquisite while they have their life, the penthouses in a prison, but then eventually those penthouses go, and then they've got to come really right down to, they've got to come down to the human life and do it. Anyway, I won't go into very much more, but she says, so she got into a boat and she took the 2 people she had, and then she went, and she goes on and on in the dream. Nobody could come back and nobody would leave the prison, and the prison was endless. And then she says in the end, she took these 2 people and she thought, well, I better just take them. She said, and eventually the prison ended in her dream and she was in this boat, and she said, I saw many roads going in all different directions. She went onto the roads. She knocked on the door of some people in these lovely houses in her dream. And the people said, what are you doing? And she said, well, I really want to find a way and get out, but can you help others to get out? Okay. And it goes on and on and on. And the basic thing in this dream is, can we help people out of samsara? Okay. We are so habituated to samsara. People are so used to, even if they live living in a hell realm and they're getting tortured inside their minds all the time, they don't want to leave. How do you explain to people, please change your life? Because otherwise this is going to mount up to a lot of things you're not going to enjoy later on. How do you do that? People will just turn away from you. I look at all the kids, I look at them, you know, I look at all these rock stars who get millions of people dancing and people taking drugs, and they think this is cool, this is a wonderful life. How do you change that? Nicola, you're looking so deeply at what I'm saying. Tell me what you're thinking.
You know, well, I think firstly, you can't change it. Like, that's the thing. You can't try to change anybody. You can't try to help. And I think in that prayer, he says, I think it's something like the causes and conditions of the causes of and conditions of bodhicitta. And I think it's all you can do is actually work on yourself, which is what you were saying. And then naturally, you actually start to emanate whatever wisdom and whatever circumstance is necessary to help others. And, I actually read a book yesterday. I never really read novels, but somebody had recommended this book to me. And I read this novel. I was so addicted. I read the whole book in one day.
Oh my God.
And it's called The Midnight Library. So people may have heard of it. It's quite a well-known book. And it's about this young girl who so hates her life and she tries to commit suicide. And in that part between life and death, she goes to this giant library with thousands and thousands of possibilities for different futures for her life. And basically the whole message of the book is that, we think all of these different ways are going to get us out. But really it was about her like accepting who she was and realizing that actually by being herself, she was actually naturally helping other people in her life without even realizing it. It was a beautiful story. If anyone wants to read a nice book, it's really, really lovely. But it really got me thinking that, the content of our life is so irrelevant. What we do, or what the type of suffering we have, as you say, we're all in that prison. And really the most important thing is that awareness and that wisdom, which then does give rise to that bodhicitta naturally without trying.
I think what you're saying is so important, because I think that what we're talking about here is the magnetizing enlightened quality, where just by who you are makes people very interested in what you're doing, and then they are ready. But I can see from all the years when I used to go and teach in those hell realms that it is absolutely, people are there, but they can't get out. They just keep on going on suffering, but they don't change anything in their lives. Now, when you have ultimate bodhicitta, you are looking at people, you're not imposing yourself, but just little things might really, really help them. Little things might touch their hearts and bring them out of the prison. But ask people if they want to come out. Ask the God realm. The God realm go into Hollywood, go into all these. They don't want to get older. They have everything done to their faces so that they'll always be young and beautiful. That doesn't help you in the end. But you can't tell people that. You have to act the part. That's when you've got ultimate bodhicitta. And then, as she says, may I gather all beings under my influence and by the unobstructable might of this wishing gem. So when you wish for it, may all these connections be made meaningful. It's only with a connection to you that you can change people. That's very interesting, because she says you need to magnetize them, and by this wishing gem, may all these connections be made meaningful. That's in her prayer. So she's clearly saying when people are going through terrible times and terrible things, it's so amazing that you can just be doing something and it attracts people. People just watch you. You'd be amazed how when you are magnetizing people and you don't even realize you are. That's what this verse to me is so important, because it's got aspiration, it's got making the connections meaningful, and it's got bodhicitta. I think it's a brilliant verse. Really, really, I do.
One thing is, I think when we change things around us, and obviously the people around us, they get influenced, or they notice.
Exactly. What do they notice? That you seem to be chilling in the world. People will say, oh, you're looking lovely. Tell me your secret. Then you go, oh, well, I've been going to classes. What classes? Look how you look. Something like that. And then you tell them about it. You tell them.
And interesting as well is when people know you when you're having a hard time and they see how much you changed, I think they see hope that things can change.
Absolutely.
Even if they can't change, they know it's possible. And I have a little draft read that I think is interesting from the book. It's called The Way of the Bodhisattva. It's on Bodhicitta. It says, if someone who returns a favor is deserving of some praise, why need to speak of bodhisattvas who do, those who do good even unsolicited?
Very interesting.
It's just a little one. It's a book that I seen the Dalai Lama give as a gift. It's a
Beautiful.
quite nice book.
Beautiful. And so is, I'm sure you've all seen the guide to Bodhisattva's way of life, Shantideva.
That's the
Now,
same book. Yeah.
the same, that's what he's doing. Oh, because I've got a beautiful thing to read in which where Bodhicitta, where he actually, you know, I think that it's so important for ultimate Bodhicitta because he goes, thus, through the merit I've collected from all these various actions, may the suffering of every living being be brought completely to an end. Now, listen carefully. And until all those who are sick have been cured of their illness, may I become their medicine, their doctor, and their nurse. And then may a rain of food and drink descend to dispel the miseries of hunger and thirst. And during the great eon of famine, may I become their food and drink. May I become an inexhaustible treasury for the poor and the destitute. May I be everything they might need, placed freely at their disposal. It goes on and on and on. And then it goes how you would give away, you would become anything that is needed by anybody else. Amazing. Let's do a meditation. Because I think it's really, I think all of this stuff, I can go on and on and on with it, but I think that that verse says absolutely everything. And I just want to say that there's a beautiful Bodhicitta mantra, which also comes out of, we can talk about it next week, which also comes out of the Dzogchen deity practice, in which you say this mantra for the peaceful deities. And it actually goes, Bodhicitta Maha Sukha Janana Dhatu A. Bodhicitta Maha Sukha Janana Dhatu A. That's a beautiful mantra asking for the wisdom and the Bodhicitta, which if you like, we can do that as well. But I think there's so much you could do. I think that also the Bodhicitta, just let me give you the thing. I'll give it to you now in the meditation. I think that there is much that we can do with Bodhicitta. And I think what is very, very important is when we take refuge, we give the mantra of Bodhicitta, and it can be in any order. It can be, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and I would like to help all sentient beings in every way. It can be simple like that. Or it can be a little more, where you're actually giving a lot more and expecting a lot more of yourself. I think Tatiana was speaking about that. Or it can be the ultimate Bodhicitta, which goes like this. Ho, in order to establish all beings equal to the sky in the state of Buddhahood, I will realize the Dharmakaya of self-existing awareness through the teachings of the great perfection. So at that moment in time, you are wanting to help everyone in all the universes, in all the everything. And that prayer wouldn't be there if it wasn't possible to do that. So Blakey, you're going to help every single child at your new school, but they're not going to know that you're doing it. You're just going to say, may all the people in my school who are suffering and having problems at home and haven't got enough food or haven't got enough or rejected by everybody, may I be able to help all of them, put them in my way, and I will love to help all of them. That's going to be your bodhicitta prayer. And everyone in the class, I know what it is like when people are suffering and they're not popular, or they can't do their work very well, they're not clever, or they're not able to make friends very easily. So when you get up in the morning, you just say your little prayer, something like, may all the people who are suffering in my school, may all of them who can't make friends, and all of them who are unable to do their work, and all of them who are hungry, may my prayer help all of them and bring light to them. And then you can go on in all the schools in South Africa and all over the world. You can go as big as you want. But your beautiful prayer is going to change the lives of many, many, many people, because from your prayer, people might even meet people who give them what they need, or extra lessons, or whatever they need. So you'd be amazed at what can come from your prayer. So for all of you, breathe in to that beautiful Maha Guru, the inside of you, which doesn't really have a place. It's called identitylessness. We might be going through a life in which we are doing this and that and the other, or we've got this hardship or that hardship or the other hardship, or maybe we've got beautiful things happening. But whatever it is, we have that beautiful nature. And as we breathe in, we are pulling in that nature, and we are making it into a wish-fulfilling gem. That's what white Tara is, a wish-fulfilling wheel. So we are making ourselves in connection. We are praying to be a wish-fulfilling wheel. That means you can become everything for everyone, all the people that are suffering. You'll find that lots of people who are suffering are brought onto your pathway. And gradually, as the years go by, and as you do your Guru Yoga and you unite with Padmasambhava, eventually you have that beautiful action called magnetizing. You just walk into a room and people are attracted to you. You walk into a place and funny people find their way to you. You have that magnetization. You don't have to think it, you don't have to develop it. It's just there. You just have to become aware of it. So how do we do this? Every day when we sit down in the morning, we get in touch with ourselves. Maybe some of our problems, maybe some of the difficult issues that we're going through, maybe some kind of difficulty in your life, maybe even a good phase of your life where everything's going according to plan. Just get in touch with where we are and all the things that we've been hanging on to, that we've been clutching onto, that we've been holding on to. All of them, we just allow them to let go of. There's nothing really to let go of, but we open ourselves to let everything be just as it is. The essence, the beautiful Buddha nature, and its luminosity, its awareness, its cognizance, which then develops into all the things around us. And see that even though things might be difficult, there's great beauty if you see them as they really are. And you allow them as they really are. So this morning, I would like you to open your heart to bodhicitta. Beautiful pathway for the sake of all sentient beings. And go right through all sentient beings, the birds, the bees, the little deer that are running away from the lions. The lions who have to just think about their next meal. the people who are suffering, who haven't got enough money and haven't got enough food, the bereaved, those who've lost people so close to them, the children that are suffering so badly in the world. Take your heart and open it out to all of this. Feel like a warmth in your heart. That's how you develop that bodhicitta. And then the wisdom to know this is a temporary, transient life. Let us not attach to anything. Just go through it and out on the other side. I was saying to somebody the other day who was going through a really, really tough time, just keep walking through the dark and eventually you will see the light. And I'm holding your hand as we go through the dark tunnel. So what I think we can do is, there's just one other verse that I really, really want to tackle next time when we have the next one. And that is in which the three kayas neither merge nor separate. She asks for that. She says, the whole of samsara and nirvana being inseparable from the nature of Guru, may I swiftly attain omniscient Buddhahood in which the three kayas neither merge nor separate. Now, I really want to do a teaching on this because I think it's really, really something very deep. I think all her verses are very deep. They really, really are. But I think that this prayer has got so much in it, and I think that Guru Rinpoche's answer has got so much in it. We're always looking for the answers. We're always looking for the path and how to do it. And I think it really has got that. So let's dedicate to all sentient beings, which is really important. And then I'll stay if anybody wants to ask or say anything, because I think it's really very important. So let's just dedicate to all sentient beings, to the wars in the Middle East, in Syria, in Ukraine, in Sudan, in every single part of the world where there are difficulties, to the migrants who are being kicked out, to the anti-Semitism everywhere in the world, which hurts so many people, to all the hatred and angers. We dedicate, if there's any learning from the bodhicitta, we dedicate to all of these people who are going through this. And through this merit, may all beings attain omniscience, may all obscurations fall away from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, all those prison cells going right down, may all beings be freed. Sonam die tamche zipane topne nepe dranam pamshene chegana chi balak dropaye sipe sole doa dro warsho.